Well, I'm back and I got another one for you guys. Ever since our last off-road trip, and I've been doing some work on the truck, I upgraded our axles in the front after we broke one. I was working on straightening out some stuff with the steering, and I came up with a way to do my own alignment and everything. And I noticed when I was doing the alignment that one of the inner tie rods on the steering had started to get a slight bend. I mean, really, you could just barely tell it as you rotate it, and you could see it wobble a little bit. So I started looking into upgrading, the steering on the Ranger, and the thing was, it was really difficult to try to find anything, and I found that they do make a sleeve that slides over the inner tie rod that helps to protect that from bending. It reinforces it, and I couldn't find any for the Ranger, no matter how hard I looked. So I just kept looking around, and I found some that are actually for a Chevy 1500, and I went ahead and bought them, and lo and behold, they actually fit. So this is what it looks like. This sleeve slides in over it and it threads on, and this replaces your lock nut. So then it locks up against your outer tie rod. And I've got one on already, and I thought, I really should make a video about this, because this is something that I think is important if you're going to off-road. If you have the Ranger, the 3rd gen, that has the independent front suspension. So, and they always say that the steering is, one of the weak links. And I've seen other videos where people have actually really just, bent them right at the ball joint, or right at the outer tie rod connection. So, this was the next best thing to buying something very expensive. There are a complete Heim joint linkage that you can buy that replaces everything, but it's like $500. These were 25 bucks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run these, and hopefully this is going to strengthen up that front steering. But I'm going to show you guys how I did the one side and get the other side done. Alright, so here we are. You can see those beefed up front axles that we put in, and this is the side that is now finished, and you can see that sleeve on there and how much beefier that looks compared to that. That one on the driver's side here still, look how thin that bar is, and you can think that the stress that goes on at that joint where it threads into the outer tie rod. So I'm gonna take that one apart and slide this one on. I'll try to keep this open so you guys can see. First thing I'm going to do is just bust this ball joint loose. This takes a 21 millimeter. This is 7/8. This is a 22 millimeter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many turns I need to take this off, so that way when I put it back on, I'll get really close by counting the turns back on. About 19 and a half. Taking the nut completely off. So one thing I want to tell you guys real quick, what I had to do is the threads going in this were they were kind of bad on the last portion of it. I couldn't get them to start going on. So the threads on the ball joint are exactly the same. So I took and I tried to clean the threads a little bit, and then I ran it on here with holding this in the vise. And I just used it to clean the threads up and get them started. And this is basically what I did. It was a little more difficult when I did it the first time, but it did work. So I just didn't have a tap big enough at the right thread. It's a metric thing, and it's like a 1.5 thread at something like a 13 millimeter size. I didn't have one of those. Alright, now it's time to put the sleeve on. I had to push the boot for the steering up further on the shaft here so that this will fit up on here. I'm going to run the threads on here just a little bit because it's a little tight. Alright, now I'm going to turn it around, and this end's going to slide way on. You can see it goes way on there, and then it's just threaded at the end. So now if these guys would have tapped these threads just a little bit better on here, ran them all the way in and made them nice and clean, I wouldn't have to use a wrench to do this. Alright, now we can put this back on. So I'm just going to snug that up, and then I'm going to measure. I've got my alignment tools on. You guys can see, got my angle iron strapped across the tires so that way I can check my alignment as I'm doing this. I had a little video on how I use these to do the alignment, so if you want to check out that video, you can. All right, so it's pretty close. It just counting how many turns I took taking this off and then counting it right back on, put it really close. I'm just going to tow it just a little bit in, and I'm going to call it good. Little trick, be able to get a little more torque. I think that one's a little bent up. I'm just going to get a new one. Oh yeah, that was a lot easier. Alright guys, well there you go. It's installed, and I think that's going to make the steering a lot stronger. It was an easy little fix, only cost 25 bucks, so it's inexpensive, and I really think it's going to do a much better job and keep that steering nice and tight. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, comment if you like, and we'll see you on the next one.